What's up, guys? It's me, Donato Bay, and let's get into another video. Yay, we are reading the book, The Navigator Who Crossed the Ice Walls. If you don't know, now you know. I will be reading some from the book, and I will be taking notes due to copyright, okay? But this one's going to be more of a reader, because the descriptions and the things that they go through in this chapter, I cannot do it with notes. It would not give it the justice that it needs, okay? So we're going to get into chapter 7, the disease of the human being. I had been able to fall asleep after several failed attempts, among so many thoughts and explosions heard in the distance, thinking that maybe none of this was real. It couldn't be happening. It was too much information to process in my confused mind. I was abruptly awakened by the captain's voice. "William, up. It's time to march," he said in a firm voice, almost like an order. I could barely grasp the situation and again be aware that we were under enemy attack, an enemy I was still almost completely unaware of. Butler had gathered the whole team together. Everyone was safe, and it brought back my soul to my body. We embraced each other as the great team we were, and for all the situations we had been through. An almost brotherly reunion in an unknown continent, where only negative things were happening all around. We went out of the central corridor that crossed with President Fahill's door. The captain was worried and ordered us to hurry as much as we could. The thousands of people that were crowded in the building were gone. What had happened to them? I didn't even have time to ask before the boys commented as they passed by that the evacuation plan had been activated. One of them, with astonishment, told me, "We saw big trains and thousands of ships overhead carrying many people at incredible speeds, William." Let's get into these notes. Now, the captain, Butler, directed the group that they had to leave in 12 minutes because they were leaving on one of those ships. William stated that we had arrived to the safe lands, and it seemed that they were turning the lands unsafe. Now, this is all in William's mind, he's thinking. William also feared people would think that they were cursed. The group began running through the desolate streets. William looks up, and he sees that all the spheres were gone. William, as he was looking up in the sky, sees now a big bluish triangle flying from one side to the other, back and forth, back and forth. Butler explained that they were called the Iron Blues, and they were making the enemy retreat. The group arrived at their destination. Many agents were waiting for them. They rushed the group because they were actually trying to leave within the minutes. Let's hop back in here. Quickly on a silver platform, it took us up to the top. While we were complimenting the view between fire, death, and desolation to the other side of a modern city with structures never seen before that represented absolute prosperity. In the sky, the Iron Blues were still battling against the spheres that were already far from the coast. The captain asked if this view did not remind us of the portraits of Nuremberg and Basil. Y'all know my words. But we all looked at each other without understanding what he was referring to. As soon as we arrived at the top floor, some agents greeted us with a warm welcome, commenting that we were about to have a unique experience touching the clouds. These ships were not at all like the ones we had in our minds, if we could ever imagine such a thing. The structure was huge, and they seemed to be made of one piece. There seemed to be routes in the skies leading two different ones separately, there and back. These supposedly large iron structures were lost in the horizon, from what I was told by the same agent who received us. They connected every point of the big cities. He told me to prepare myself because the first experience of traveling in these great ships was something that would never be forgotten. Butler and the agents asked us to try to relax, that getting used to these iron giants was going to take some getting used to and time at first. But then we would notice a difference. As soon as the trip began, one of the boys was the first to collapse with a fainting spell, but he came to quickly. Alrighty. William felt dizzy and missed the conversation with the agents. He was trying to relax, but the ship made him feel like they were ejected like a ball from one of the biggest, largest English cannons. After some time, the ride began to go more smoothly. William noticed that they had arrived to the ancestral lands, Renaissance. Hope I got that right. The city was modern and very prosperous. William stated that even the great literary minds could not imagine the colors and the structures and the beauty of this city. There was large plantations of vegetables, flowers, and fruit trees. The green was prominent. To William, it was an emotional view that he was seeing. William called it Eden because they were near the islands called the Islands of Eden. Makes you think, never mind. William waited on Butler to finish talking war strategies. After Butler was done talking the strategies, Butler goes to ask him a question with all the many things that have been running through his mind from the time they got there up until now. But Butler beat him to the point. And from here, we're going to have to read this bad boy all the way through, okay? How much did the last air measurement yield? How much damage do we have in the area? One of the agents replied that they were sure that they had acted in time. And for this reason, the attack was made in the same area where the numbers showed possible poisoning of the air in nearby plantations. I could no longer bear this conversation that seemed like undecipherable codes to me and the whole group. So I got up my courage and I asked, can you explain to us which poisonings, which poisonings are you talking about? Butler looked at the group somewhat with compunction and explained, they poison the air. Let's see, how do I explain it? The human that is born in their lands gets sick quickly due to the work that the custodians do. Talk about us. This disease is usually implanted in the first humans, or better said, the babies left from the last reset. Or maybe the second generation as well to make sure. But then this is passed from generation to generation automatically. It is also not uncommon for them to poison the air they breathe, which is the most common way, chemtrails. Sometimes they continue to ensure future sick generations to come. This is very cruel, a very cruel race, William. I am sorry that you have to find out all of this in such an abrupt way, but sooner or later, you have to know. We are all stunned again by such statement. What do you mean by poisoning our air? And what is this disease? Or what harm can it cause? They asked in astonishment. This disease is practically new. It was used in the last reset, clarified the agent who was listening to our conversation. We are still studying it closely, but what we know is that it makes their bodies age rapidly and that only a small part of their lives are useful and profitable for them to give away to the next generation quickly. They prefer it this way because the past longevity brought other conflicts. People had more time to analyze the situation in which they found themselves. They modified the human and mold him to their usefulness, avoiding any conflict. The idea is always to fulfill the cycle called natural of the next reset. Does this mean that they shorten our lifespan? That's exactly what I'm saying. We in the ancestral lands live 3 times longer than you because there's no such modification to your bodies, to our bodies. But they tried recently. They want to first to shorten our lives to achieve their control. Welcome to our matrix. Butler interrupted with a blueprint he had in his hand and started to ask again about war strategies and issues. I could not fully understand the situation. It was also confusing, and it generated such anger in me too, that it was hard to handle. I think we all thought the same at the moment. The guys were asking each other and analyzing this, trying to understand it. The custodians were shortening our lives, and making them miserable. I understood then that there was no freedom of any form in the known lands. How could we free our people from this perverse power? How could we declare war on an enemy in which we were unaware? And what was the human like without this foul control? I would like to know that too. The answer was right in front of my eyes. Absolute prosperity was below us, and every boy and girl who ran through the fields freely, where their lives seemed to be happy and carefree until their old age, perhaps 240 or 250 years old. How wise could an elder of the ancestral lands be then? How free was a child born there? How much evil existed within each one without the cursed custodian control? We arrived at the capital called the Ark, El Akar. I hope I got that right, y'all. In fast time. There were no delays there except for our delay of 1 or 2 minutes. The doors opened and we stopped on a platform where everything was covered by a kind of crystal. If the scenery was already inexplainable by then, the reader will not understand that I could not add any words for such a description. These are the moments that I regret not having been born or trained as a literary great. But I assure you that the day we live the best sunset by someone can have in his life. I read exactly how they said it. There were structures never seen before that touched the skies, besides hundreds of flying wheels. They were like 2 wheels that joined together, forming with other materials, a sphere that could carry 1 or 2 passengers on it. Something magnificent to see. An incredible detail was that in spite of seeing the biggest, most illuminated, and fullest city of all, there was no noise. Everything happened in absolute silence. Y'all, there's a lot of things to learn in this chapter, especially of how the chemtrails are up there, but everybody wants to leave their contrails. How they set time forward and back and have leap year, how they manipulate time. How I'm supposed to be 43 in June, but I really think I'm in my 60s. I really think a lot of us are living beyond the hundreds and 200s, but the manipulation and control makes us really think we're dying in our 80s and 90s. This is an open prison with doorways that are hidden. Some are easy to find. You just have to know who to know, right? Or work for the people that are controlling the doors, and then whistleblow that fucker all over the planet. Y'all need to get this book. It's a good book. It's an awakening book. And if you're not woke, you need to wake up. We have been so controlled and lied to, it's ridiculous. And I'm past the anger. I'm just trying to find a way out. So with that being said, I hope you guys did enjoy this. We're getting into chapter 8. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I don't want to ruin it. Haven't read it yet. So, do not obey. Stay woke. Peace.